Hey there, good morning. It's Trisha with Easy E-mini Trade, and I hope you all had a fantastic holiday and some great time with your family. This morning I'm going to go over just quickly a little bit more on Ichimoku and how you can use it for scanning equities. And I'll go over this more in detail during the webinar on Monday, the 30th at 4 p.m. And I'm going to also go over using it on the E-minis on time-based charts, tick charts, range charts. It won't matter what you use it on. You can use it on anything. But for scanning equities, if you're somebody who's interested in shopping around for equities ready to enter either long or short, the Ichimoku is a great way to do it. So briefly, I'll just show you a couple things on the E-minis this morning. They just opened, and then I'll flip over real quick for just a couple minutes on the equities. And if you want more information on the webinar that's happening on Monday at 4, just go to my site, easyeMinitrade.com, and click on the webinar tab link at the top of the page. Okay. So very quickly, I'll just, like I said, go over a couple things. This is the stochastic that I always have on my charts for my setups that I like on the range chart in the 1 minute. So I just left it on there. This is NQ this morning on a 5-minute chart. And what I want to show you is you're going to get obviously different views on different size charts. So here's a 5-minute chart. Here is a 15-minute chart. And so you can see the differences on the 15 minutes coming down to the cloud. It's pulled back to the cloud, and now it's basically attempting to bounce off of it. When you look at this on this higher time frame, as with any instrument that you trade, the higher the time frame, the less noise. And so if you were interested, you could use 2 different time frames with the Ichimoku components on it. So for example, you could see this on NQ on the 15 coming into the cloud. And what we know when price comes into the cloud is that generally this is going to be an area where price is likely going to have some chop. So generally this is an area where price is generally going to have some difficulty, generally speaking, until it comes through the other side or bounces off the top here. When you look at this on the 15, you can see that this Chico line, this is one of my favorite components of the Ichimoku. This plots back 26 periods. And so basically you can see where it's plotting. So this is 26 bars later. And so what this is telling us, this is still above price. So until this actually crosses through price here and is trading through the bottom of the cloud as well, this off the 15-minute has a good chance of holding these areas as support, right where you've got the lower end of the cloud here. And so let's say that price keeps going lower here and the Chico line comes through and hits the top part of the cloud here and bounces. What you're going to find is that price at that time will be bouncing off of an area of support, whether it be the lower part of the cloud here or previous day's high and close. Either way, this can be very helpful. And so if we look at this on a 5-minute chart, so now you're going to see the difference. On a 5-minute chart, you can see that price is already traded through the cloud, right? So let's say that you were looking at this on the 5-minute and you wanted to take this. This is before the market opened at 9:30, but let's just say you wanted to take this when this was closing under the cloud right here. The Chico line, you'll notice at the time, was still above the cloud. Now, one thing, when the cloud is very narrow like that, the Chico line and price, any of the other indicators from the Ichimoku can have an easier time getting through. The wider the cloud, the more difficult it is for price to get through. So let's say that we took this here on the 5-minute, and you can see the Chico line wasn't quite yet hitting the cloud. It was actually back here at the time. It was under price. And so what we would watch for is we would watch for a reaction on price as the Chico line was hitting this cloud. So you would already be short, and realistically, as this was coming to the cloud here, 26 bars later would have put us right here. So as the Chico line's hitting here, this is where price was here, right? Coming off of, it's this big bar here at, I believe that's 930, right there. So had you been willing to take it before the open at 9:30, you would have just been looking for a reaction, possible reaction, as this Chico line was hitting the cloud, and then as it got under the cloud here, broke through, then realistically you can expect price to follow. And if you look back here, and so like I said, if you're looking at the 15-minute, so we look at this on the 5, right? And if we look at the higher time frame, like we just did, we'll see that we're actually bouncing off the top end of the cloud area. We're in the cloud. But also, if you look at your cloud, and I know many of you already know this, but this is past areas of support or resistance. So anywhere you get these little ledges here, if you wanted to just draw a line there, that is generally going to tell you where the next area of support is likely to be, or a reaction. So the bigger the chart, the less of these you'll have. The smaller the chart, the more of these that you'll have. And I'm not saying that you have to do that, but this falls right in line with when we look at this 15-minute, and it is, basically in the cloud there, hanging up on this, area in the cloud. And we're watching that Chico line. So the question will be, when the Chico line breaks this, now I've got the support line drawn, this area of support here, then likely it tags the cloud area here. And so if it bounces off, you'll find price is going to bounce. If it trades through and hits the cloud and bounces off, you'll find that price will likely have traded down to this area of support and then will be bouncing off. So if the Chico line gets inside the cloud here, let's say, and price continues lower through the bottom end of the cloud here, then you would be looking for a reaction with the Chico line again once it hits the lower end of the cloud or the next area of support. So I'll go over more of that on Monday. Hopefully I'm not confusing the issue here. And then if you look at it on a 1-minute chart, obviously it's going to be a lot noisier, right? A lot more bars, of course, and areas of minor support and resistance. All right, so let me flip over real quick to the equities. So what you're looking at here is a daily chart, and what I did was I just put the NASDAQ 100 on a market analyzer here, and you can filter based on volume, price, etc. I'm just going to go down the list here. So what you would be watching for, so I have them linked up here and here, and what I would be looking for is equities that were just coming outside the top end of the cloud or the bottom end of the cloud, or inside the cloud anticipating it, coming out the top or the bottom. You can always look for pullbacks as well, but for the sake of this video, I'll just quickly go through a couple and see if we have any coming, getting ready to come through the cloud or not. So I have them linked, so when I click over here on the equity, it will load on the chart here. So this one here you can see is going a little bit sideways here, and you can be pretty picky with these because you have so many to choose from. You're going to have a lot of opportunities. So this one here, not really anything that you likely want to do with it unless it trades down to the cloud here and holds. But when that happens, you're going to find that Chico line is going to be inside the cloud. So like I said, you're going to have better to choose from, I'm sure. So now we'll just go down to the next one, and then you can just quickly go through them, and I'm just going to zip through, and it might be a little slower because I've got the recording going on here. So I'm just going to go through them. And so nope, Amazon, nope. And so you just find one that's ready and ripe. And I would definitely suggest, if you have a lot of gaps on an equity, pass on it. If you have very narrow bars, pass on it. So I just want to find one that's coming outside the cloud here. Either side, I don't care which side it's coming out of here. I should have maybe filtered based on price, but that's okay. All right, here's one here. This is Comcast. So you can see that it is retracing back up to the cloud here. So right now we don't know if this is going to hold and pull back from there or attempt to get above the cloud here and close outside. You can see the Chico line still inside the cloud. So ideally what we would want to see is if this closes outside the top end of the cloud, we'd like to see that Chico line coming out also. Now, when you look at this, you can see that we do have some congestion in this little area here. I'm just going to draw a line right at the top edge of that cloud there. So realistically, if this does close outside the top end, this would be an area that we would watch as a possible resistance area for price and the Chico line. But if it gets above those areas there, the Chico and price, then this has the potential of trading up to the next area of resistance, which would likely be in this general vicinity up here around 46.23. Now, if this holds right here, the lower end of the cloud, so let's say this holds for a couple bars, and then you see the Chico line roll over and has room down to the lower end of the cloud wherever it is, or it's by that time is coming outside this cloud here. That could be something that might be interesting for a short off of this area. So this would go on your list and you would just pay attention to it. It's not ready yet, but it could go on your list to watch. Here's another one. It's Costco, excuse me. So you can see Chico line holding the cloud here. It's still underpriced at the moment, but by the time this gets up to the upper part of the cloud here, Chico line will likely have traded back above price here, and this could go on your list for a possible buy or even a possible short off of this area. Now, I'm not saying if you have a very strong trend in one direction or the other to go against it. Just all you're trying to do here is to create a watch list for equities that are ready to move in one direction or the other. And this will be the last one because, I mean, we can go on here all day. But here is Cisco, and you can see it coming outside the top end of the cloud here. However, look at the Chico line holding that lower end of the cloud back here. So we're not ready realistically to attempt to buy this yet. But if this holds in this area and then you can get your Chico line coming outside the cloud, then you could attempt to buy. Or if you've got room for the Chico line to find its way up to the upper end of the cloud, then you can buy it. You're not going to ignore the fact that this does have some resistance over here when you look at this little area here, just based on price, or even if you want to use the previous cloud area here as resistance. So if you attempt to buy there, like I said, ideally you would like the Chico line coming outside the cloud or room up to the upper end of the cloud. Now, if this goes sideways for a while, you're going to find that the Chico line will, meander into this little area here. And then, again, you're just going to pay attention to the reaction area based on possible reaction area based on price. Now, if this comes back outside the lower end of the cloud here and the Chico line rolls over, then you may be interested in a short in this area. Right now, this would just go on your watch list. And so a short in this area would require a close under the cloud, and then you'd like to see the Chico line either trading under price, or if it's up in this area and has room down to price, then you can take the short and then just watch price reaction once that Chico line starts hitting these bars again. Because if it comes back down to these bars from above, it could bounce off of those. All right, so I'll go definitely into a lot more detail on Monday, and I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will chat with you all later. Take care. Before I end, I just wanted to flip back over to NQ on the 15-minute real quick. Here's a good example of what we were talking about. You can see price came outside the cloud here on the 15, and notice that Chico line holding that at least for the moment. So while that's holding it, you can see price bouncing in this general area. If we look at that 5 minute again, and we look back here a bit, and I'm just going to put a line here where we've got these little areas here. So you can see it's holding right in this area of support here at 79.50. Got through this one here at 85.75, and now it's bouncing back up. So you kind of do the same thing on the way up as you would with regular support or resistance if you wanted to. You don't have to get this involved, but if you want to have a roadmap, just look at the little ledges that the cloud creates, and those will likely be the possible reaction areas. Obviously, you'll feel it more on a 1 minute chart than you will on a 5 minute or a 15 minute, but here are those same areas here. You can see it, that one little area here holding as support before it got through. Now it's attempting to go higher. So now we'll see if it trades up to that area of resistance there. If it trades back to either the Tekin or the Kijin line, you can look for pullbacks in those areas to take a short, for example. Obviously this is moving lower, so then you would be looking for a pullback to one of the components if you wanted to jump into a moving market. All right, I thought I was finished, but now I really am. Take care, you guys.